They saying it's the last days. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready for the last phase. With so many disconnected, ain't too many gonna make it out here walking bucket naked. It's some fresh days. Message to the modern day slaves. You're facing the state and conditions, but your condition is not a state. Your people was reprobate. It was witchcraft that took away your power to levitate. They know when you elevate. If only you knew the way. The book of life, they say Peezee is shining now. No, it's the author of this book, man, he is the light. Me, I'm just a reflection of him. The real talk, I fall short of damn. Just because I jock me, I was style. I like the room when it be pitch black. No cap, you see salary, it be unlimited when it's the Father paying. So when I brag, I got a bag. Read Luke 6 if you think I'm playing. Yeah, I boast in the Most High, and I teach my people how to do the same. I'm loyal to what I boast do, so everything you say, but I do the same. I'm giving game if you pay attention, but a lot of y'all think it's just rap. I know bars hard, yeah, I spit gas, but this ain't gas, this is straight facts. You can have angels on speed dial, or you can have a demon infestation. Call me Malaka, YASHAYA. This a message to my whole nation.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Just say Most High, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Leg on.
We got nicks. We got
I just wanna
nicks.
make it in the kingdom, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Let me get a spot with you in the gate, you heard me?
We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
Revelation.
We got nicks.
Leg on.
We next, big flex, we the ones on the front line yelling out 12 tribes. Bring a knife to a gunfight, better reconsider your thoughts before you take flight. Remember your tias and magazines, you know the covenant would never leave. It still is laws there inside of me. We the light, so we gotta lead. Last day, so we make them bleed, so we make them see. Quorum YASHAYA, all praises to Ahayah. See the nation on the rise, they can never ever stop it. But a reprobated mind become a reprobated soul, and a reprobated soul too hot for me to hold. Destruction awaits at the door, it's burning your flesh and deceiving your soul. Temptation can kill when lust is fulfilled. Remember, keep silent, man, fair for the thrill. So I boast in the most high, feeling like it's taking y'all. My vision be spiritual. You don't wanna be in last place, trying to make it out the maze, hoping you can make it through them golden gates. Revelation be revealed with a seal in your head and a white robe overcame like Job. The kingdom ain't hid in this world, it's so wicked, it seems like we living out nowadays. Examine yourself, kingdom is wealth. Make sure you live in a righteous way, cause judgment be swift, Ahayah be still. Get caught with that left on that judgment day. The joy in my soul, so my verses be critical. My name in this book is a miracle. I switch up and flow unpredictable. Most High give us grace unconditional.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Just say Most High, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Leg on.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Just say Most High, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
I got a couple of jewels to drop the jewels. It's who that he choose, but you can't see it cause your eyes closed. We too busy being crabs in the bucket. Look, we blind and we love how you witnessing a blindfold. Cause the man you follow ain't chose. There's a light to the path if you walk in the map. It ain't always gold cause they bitters like that. Yeah, I hear all his cat, but he doubling bad. Cause he rock fringes don't mean he the way. Niggas pick up the Bible and lie every day. What makes a man sharp as a razor? His words and his actions, they all coordinate. If you got wisdom, you hear what I say. But most is just here for the fish and the bread. I'm giving you food, this beat is a plate. But most cannot stomach the bars that I said. Every verse is a parabolic chamber, dark sentences. You gon' need a light. These ain't just tunes, these like mushrooms. Mario, you won't be big, right? Me, I will be stepping me bars up. For the hood, I'm the scriptures, the sorrow. I might start back rocking some food, cause the scriptures is for us, by us. I be slicing them up like some cold cuts. The one that the enemy can't touch. Go read Jeremiah 1:18. Ahayah that made me a fortress. Now let me explain the chorus. What I mean by for us, by us. 2nd Ezra 6:9. Yeah, brother Ezra, he told us that
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Just say Most High, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Leg on.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Got to run around up, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Just say Most High, boy.
We got nicks. We got nicks.
Yo, Shalom family. All praises to Kahi, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Kadash. All praises to ENOCH said, I am loving kindness. Ahayah he said. And all praises to most of the Lamb, our Redeemer, the one who shows us true forgiveness. Yasha. Y'all, welcome to another installment of Clear Eyes, No VISINE. We are back for another episode in our Remembrance of Enoch series. Last episode we dealt with spiritual warfare. Y'all go check that thing out if you missed it. I'm probably gonna say that a few times tonight because this is somewhat a continuation of that last episode. In this episode, we will see the application of last episode's message in YASHAYA and KENNEH, right? Today, or tonight, we read about KENNEH being born. KENNEH is Cain from the Bible. But this episode is more about the opposition YASHAYA and KENNEH faced in Eden. This will be a very interesting episode. Again, we are on here helping the Father spread the truth, the real history of man. Not just to know the truth, but to know how the righteous can endure through the war Satan has on God's people, right? First, y'all mash on the like button. Show love. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell if you have yet to do so you can be noted or notified every time we drop something new. Y'all share this thing. Share, right? You are definitely helping to do the work by just doing those things. We are back in the book of Remembrance of Enoch, chapter 6. We are starting on the verse we ended on last episode. That's verse 55. But before we go there, Revelation 3:18, baby, read that.
I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see.
And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Clear eyes, no VISINE family, let go. Verse 55, read that.
And it came to pass that one day KENNEH arose, and she saw YASHAYA drinking from the little pool that formed from the water, that seeped out beside the stones of their dwelling place. And she said, the sheep, the fish, and the asib are our friends. How many other friends are we to find here in this place? And she looked about, and she espied a serpent emerging out of a crack in the rocks, over by where she cooked. And it had a very sweet face, and it was very delightful to look upon. And the serpent sashayed from side to side as she walked, for she walked upon legs, and she loved the water that seeped by the cooking place, and she drank the water.
So, who is this pleasant looking serpent? Read.
And she was iridescent blue and green, and sometimes seemed to be red, when the light of the sun shone upon her. And the serpent was very curious to look into the Kelly, and she walked all around it and looked upon it. In our last episode titled Spiritual Warfare, we talked about the Kelly being a weapon for the righteous. Y'all go back and check that episode out. The serpent seemed interested in this Kelly. Let's keep reading. And she is called a rock serpent. And Enoch saw that the rock serpent and KENNEH became fast friends. And she sang and danced before the serpent. And the serpent began to visit her at the same time each day to get a drink, and watch her make bread, and to hear the song of the dance.
KENNEH stayed in the spirit of joining. For KENNEH, that's what the song of the dance was all about. And as you can see, she was routinely making bread in her Kelly. bread made in her kelly was an element of righteousness, meant to fight off fear brought by the devil, brought by Semihaza. We talked all about that in the spiritual warfare episode, y'all. Y'all go check that thing out for real, for real. Read.
And Kavah knew when to expect the serpent to emerge from the crack in the rocks of her dwelling. And they would talk about everything together. And their friendship was very pleasing to Yatsakad, for he delighted in the joy of his rib.
So Kavah was holding conversation with the serpent. Some might say that's too fanciful. Okay. Let's get a precept then. We're going to Numbers 22. Numbers chapter 22. We're going to read verses 28 through 30. Read.
And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee? What thou hast smitten me, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me. I would there were a sword in mine hand, for now I would kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine donkey, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? He said, Nay.
Balaam was about to go curse the Israelites, and the angel of the Lord was not having it, right? So he blocked Balaam's path, sword in hand. Balaam couldn't see the angel, but his donkey could. So the donkey went a different route 3 different times. But Balaam hit the donkey each time. Why? Because he thought the donkey just was being disobedient. And the scripture said the Lord opened up the mouth of the donkey and they had a conversation. So we can see the same thing was possible in Eden. Back to the book of remembrance of Enoch. We're in chapter 6, verse 59. Read that again.
And Kavah knew when to expect the serpent to emerge from the crack in the rocks of her dwelling. And they would talk about everything together. And their friendship was very pleasing to Yatsakad, for he delighted in the joy of his rib.
Yatsakad was happy because Kavah was happy. Y'all see that? Verse 60, read.
And it came to pass that one day Kavah discovered that her dance was in the same manner to sashay like the serpent. And it was a dance to express the happiness of her joining in rich fellowship with creation and all the souls in Eden.
What did Kavah's dance express?
And it was a dance to express the happiness of her joining in rich fellowship with creation and all the souls in Eden.
If y'all tuned in to our Dominion episode and our Yatsakad and Kavah espoused in marriage episode, we learned that was Kavah's dominion. Her dominion was to bring oneness to Eden, or to join with all of creation. Let's keep reading though.
And in those days, Yatsakad and Kavah were happy, and they continued their life as husband and wife in Eden. And it came to pass that after a while, because the bread dispelled the feelings that came by the effects of the presence of Motsor the Decadent, Kavah no longer thought of him, nor did she feel any fear, neither did she bring such things to mind.
The devil had no power in their lives because of the spiritual protection the Lord taught them, right? He had no power in their lives. Y'all go check out that episode, man. Verse 62, read that.
And it came to pass that after a while, because the bread dispelled the feelings that came by the effects of the presence of Motsor the Decadent, Kavah no longer thought of him, nor did she feel any fear, neither did she bring such things to mind.
The bread got rid of the feelings the presence of the devil brought. Motsor is the name the Father calls the devil. Motsor the Decadent. Opposition from the devil brings different emotions that mostly all stem from what? Fear. These feelings cause us to move and speak outside of the spirit. They cause us to move and speak too quickly or at the wrong time. It causes us to make bad decisions. So being able to have a way of eliminating those feelings is priceless. And the Lord gave Yatsakad and Kavah that ability. Y'all check out the last episode, man. Spiritual warfare. The Lord is giving us back the mysteries in these last days that were taken from us, that were hidden from us. You dig? Let's read verse 63.
And one day Kavah said to Yatsakad, let us return to visit the place where we were married, for I am well acquainted with the rocks there, and I desire to tell them about my friends in this place. And the serpent was seen to be listening to these words of Kavah.
This serpent seems real suspicious, don't it? First the serpent was scoping out the Kelly. Now it seems focused on Kavah's plans. Read.
And it came to pass that they rose up and set themselves out to journey the way they had come. And they went upwards toward the northeast until the forest grew thicker. And finally they arrived at the place where they had first met and given gifts to each other.
So Yatsakad and Kavah traveled back to the place they met. It was also the place Mozart the Decadent, Semihaza, the devil, crash landed. In our last episode, we also learned that the devil is a type of meteorite that fell to the garden. So Yatsakad and Kavah have arrived back to the place they met. What happens next? Read.
And Ebedel greeted them with kindness.
Ebedel is the holy watcher that represents the rocks. Read.
And Kael was delighted to see them again, and her waters rose up to be sweet to the mouth of Yatsakad.
Kael is the holy watcher that represents the fountains. Read.
And the mosque was still there, and after Yatsakad drank from the fountain, he laid himself down on the mosque and went to sleep. And Kavah went happily down to the river and told all the elders of Ebedel about the sheep and the asib, and the sounds of joy issued forth out of them.
So Kavah told the rock elders about the sheep and the asib. Asib, we learned last discussion, is wheat. So Kavah told the rock elders about her new friends. Remember, Ebedel is the watcher that represents the rocks. And when she told the elders of Ebedel, the rocks, about her new friends, they responded. Baby, their response, read that again.
And sounds of joy issued forth out of them.
And sounds of joy issued forth out of them. Family, creation is alive. Yatsakad and Kavah were joined with creation. They had a relationship with their ecosystem. The true prophets of Israel had this same type of relationship with creation. Christ was walking on water because of his relationship with creation. He told the fig tree to produce no more, and it happily obeyed and shriveled up. Read your Bible with the eyes and knowledge that creation is alive, and examples will pop out. In fact, y'all leave examples in the chat right now if you know of any, or leave examples in the comments if you are catching the playback. You know what I'm saying? Examples in the Bible of creation being alive, right? Man, it's all through there. It's all through there. Let's keep reading. So Kavah is telling the rocks about her new friends. Read.
And then she told them about the serpent, and what a delight she was to visit with each day. And the rocks answered her not a word, nor made any sound.
Whoa, now wait a minute. Baby, read that verse again.
And then she told them about the serpent, and what a delight she was to visit with each day. And the rocks answered her not a word, nor made any sound.
Let's read the footnote Gokul Haram III left for this verse. Baby, read that.
To this day, the Er Kadeshi are silent concerning the Dekadarshi.
The Er Kadeshi are silent concerning the Dekadarshi. To this day, this particular serpent is one of the fallen watchers. Kavah is friends with the enemy. If y'all can recall in our Yatsakad and Kavah espousal and marriage episode, the Lord warned Yatsakad and Kavah that some of creation would fall away from their created purpose. But Yatsakad and Kavah could not understand. In fact, let's get that precept right now. We are going to stay in the same book of Remembrance of Enoch, but we're going back to chapter 5. We're going to go to verse 122. Read.
And the Lord sat down, and he said to them tenderly and seriously, I am one who may instruct you for the days ahead. Therefore listen carefully to my words. and take what I say into your hearts. There are those who dwell here with you, who one day will not love the life and purpose they have been given.
There are those that what?
There are those who dwell here with you, who one day will not love the life and purpose they have been given.
They will not love, or they will not obey the created purpose they've been given. Read.
And they will not find joy in what we have done here this day. And the day will come when they will try to persuade you to join with them in embracing a vision that is not one of holiness.
Is this what this serpent is trying to do? Huh? Start verse 123 over.
And the day will come when they will try to persuade you to join with them in embracing a vision that is not one of holiness.
There's going to be a day that these rebels will try to cause YASHAYA and KENNEH to rebel. So what did the Lord say do? Read.
So you must walk circumspectly all of your days as a man and his wife, in order to keep our Eden safe from their waywardness, and venture not into the way.
So they must walk carefully as a man and his wife. This is the same risk we have today. Fallen watchers are watching or warring against us. Let's get the precept to prove that. We are finding precepts for this precept we already on, right? Praise the Father. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Read that.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. These are the parts of creation who rebelled against their created purpose. Huh? Let's go back to the book of Remembrance of Enoch chapter 5. Let's finish that precept. Let's pick up where we left off in verse 123. Read.
So you must walk circumspectly all of your days as a man and his wife.
How must they walk to avoid being influenced by these fallen watchers?
Circumspectly all of your days as a man and his wife.
Carefully all of our days as a man and his wife. That's if we are married, right? Remember, there's power in the sanctity of marriage. We talked about that in our Order of Melchizedek series, the Enoch episode. But trust, we're going to talk about the sanctity of marriage a whole lot more on this channel. Father willing, right? Read that again.
So you must walk circumspectly all of your days as a man and his wife, in order to keep our Eden safe from their waywardness, and venture not into the ways of those who rebel against me. And as I viewed these sayings of the Lord, it seemed to me that they could not comprehend the meaning of his word.
YASHAYA and KENNEH did not understand what the Lord was talking about. Well, now in chapter 6, KENNEH started to be shown what the Lord was telling her and her husband. Yeah, we are back in chapter 6 now in the book of Remembrance, right? We are in the book of Remembrance of Enoch. We're going back to verse 68. KENNEH just told the elders of the rocks about her friends. When she told them about the sheep and wheat, sounds of joy came from the rocks. Yeah, the rocks responded. Again, don't be surprised. Christ told the Pharisees that the people ain't cry out, the rocks would. Creation is alive, family. So the rocks responded with joy when KENNEH told them about her new friends, the sheep and the seed, or wheat, right? But when KENNEH told the rocks about her new friend, the serpent, there was silence. Goku Haram III told us in the footnotes that the Erekadeshi don't speak about the Dekadarchi, right? So now we know the serpent and what she seems to be, or what KENNEH perceived it to be, right? It ain't what she thought, right? Read.
And as she wondered about their silence, she cast her eyes about, and her gaze fell upon the broken trees and the burn marks that were at the place where the stone from heaven landed. And it was the only broken and burnt tree she had ever seen. And when she gazed on this scene, she remembered Motsor, the rock that fell into decay.
She remembered Motsor, the decadent, right? Y'all remember Motsor the decadent is the devil, Semihaza, a huge meteorite that crashed into Eden. Kavah glances over and sees the carnage he left. Read.
And because the bread had dispelled the effects of his presence so thoroughly, she thought in the innocence of her heart that perhaps he had traveled on and gone to another place.
The bread she had been making in her Kelly worked so well, Kavah didn't even remember the fear she felt when he first crashed into Eden. Kavah figured he must have left, right? Just being innocent. Read.
And she thought to go across the river and look where he had landed. And in her heart, she was hesitant.
The Spirit was trying to warn her though. Y'all see that? Read.
But all of the birds were singing, and the trees swayed with the wind happily, and only the rocks were quieted. So she decided to go over and look, and she went carefully across the river, on one stone after another. And she approached the place where the stone of heaven burst upon Eden, and she ventured ahead to peek timidly between the branches of a bush. And Motzor was still there, and he shone forth in the light of the sun, and he was iridescent blue and green, and sometimes to be red in the light of the sun. And he seemed very peaceful just laying there. But Ebedel knew he was lying in wait like a predator to catch his prey.
What did Ebedel know?
But Ebedel knew he was lying in wait like a predator to catch his prey.
Satan was lying in wait like a predator to catch his prey. Yeah, we got a precept for that. We go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Read that.
Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil as a roaring lion walketh about seeking whom he may devour.
Walking around like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. Perfect precept. Back to the book of remembrance of Enoch chapter 6, verse 73. Read that.
And as Kavah beheld him with her eyes, she gasped and covered her cheeks with her hands, for she beheld him to look like the serpent in her appearance. And Motzor looked the way he did, because he had been burned with fire, and she could tell he came from very far away. For there were no other rocks like him in Eden, and he was beautiful to look upon.
Ooh, wait. What did Kavah feel about the rock we now know to be the devil? Read that again.
And she could tell he came from very far away, for there were no other rocks like him in Eden, and he was beautiful to look upon.
He was foreign, exotic. Wasn't no rocks like him in Eden. He was beautiful to look at. Ooh, he got her. You see that? Read.
And it came to pass that as she looked upon him, an owl called her name. And suddenly fear seized upon her once again. And she remembered the day how she felt when Motzor landed. And she turned herself and made haste to go. And she ran to the river, and she kept looking behind her as though she was being pursued. And she arrived weeping and breathless to where YASHAYA was sleeping.
Y'all see what happened to Kavah? She went back to her vomit. You see that? She went back to her vomit. She felt the way the first time this all happened. You know, and the Lord gave her protections against it. And she was healed from that fear. But she went back to her vomit. That's why we have to remember not to go back to our vomits. You dig? That owl called her name and broke her out of her little trance of admiration. And then fear took over. Kavah remembered all those feelings she had when Motzor first landed. She just took out running. You see that? Steady looking back like something was chasing her until she got back to her husband. Read.
And she awoke, and she saw her.
And he awoke.
And he awoke, and he saw her looking back. And if she was being pursued, as if she was being pursued, but there was nothing there. And YASHAYA held her to comfort her. And she rehearsed to him all that had transpired, and she told him that it was very curious how the rocks of Eden were silent towards her when she told them of the serpent.
So Kavah felt the rocks not responding about the serpent was strange also. You see that? Read.
And after a while, YASHAYA said, I sense a division, where we are never to visit this place again. For surely this division will displease ENOCH, he said, and all the rocks that had been their resting place. that day were ashamed before all of their fellows in Eden for the behavior of Motzor the decadent.
Yatsakah sensed the division. Kavah brought oneness to their environment, and it pleased Enoch, he said. So Yatsakah understood a division, but displeased him. So he told his wife, they ain't coming back here no more. They ain't coming to this place. All the rocks that rested in that area was ashamed. Why? Because Motzor the decadent, Ahayah, is considered a rock also. And it's shameful to them that one of their own influenced such wickedness, to the point that Yatsakah, the object of creation, did not want to return there. And this feeling, man, hold up. They were sick, y'all. They were sick, and this is a feeling Abedel will have through all the time of the earth, right? Let's keep reading, verse 77.
And it came to pass that Yatsakah and Kavah left again with the feeling that they were being pursued, and they never during their long lives returned to the fountain of Simcha. And it came to pass that when they arrived home, it seemed to them that their dwelling place was a haven from the fear that came from Motzor. And they were comforted once again by the bread that Kavah made.
Spiritual warfare. Y'all go check that episode out. Once again, Kavah makes the bread in her kelly, and it takes away their fears. Every household needs a kelly to make their bread in. Yeah, Father willing, we're going to have an episode where we're showing how one is made. You dig? Verse 79.
And Yatsakah went with a troubled heart to inquire of Kahi, and he prayed to the Lord mightily, and he said, O Enoch, he said, I am afraid we would displease you. Please help me to understand why there is a division among the rocks of the earth concerning my rib, when she mentioned the serpent to the rocks of Simcha.
Yatsakah went straight to his prayer closet. He needed answers, right? He needed understanding so that he wouldn't displease the Lord. Read.
And the Lord said by the voice of Kahi, the one who calls himself Ahayah is Motzor. It is the first in all creation to be viewed by your wife to be naked. For he is not clothed upon in righteousness, and nakedness is akin to the absence of life, which is called death.
So the Lord is speaking to Yatsakah in the Spirit. The Spirit is Kahi. Read verse 80 again.
And the Lord said by the voice of Kahi, the one who calls himself Ahayah, who is Motzor, is the first in all creation to be viewed by your wife to be naked. For he is not clothed upon in righteousness, and nakedness is akin to the absence of life, which is called death.
Okay, wait. So being unrighteous is considered being naked, which makes sense. When you're unrighteous, you can't be covered by the Most High, right? Being naked is the same as being dead. Y'all see that? This is a spiritual nakedness and a spiritual death, huh? Interesting. Verse 81.
And his appearance does not glorify me, but his appearance has become the means for him to show forth his own glory. And he uses his appearance and countenance to become a life unto himself that is separate from me. So be very careful, my son, to avoid that which is not clothed upon in righteousness.
This is deep what we reading right here. Read that again, verse 81.
And his appearance does not glorify me, but his appearance is become the means for him to show forth his own glory.
Isn't that the way of the world? Ones judge others by what they wear, right? You walk up on a sister, real talk, brothers too. You walk up on a brother or a sister, and the first thing they do is look at your shoes and make a complete judgment, right? Start verse 81 over.
And his appearance does not glorify me, but his appearances become the means for him to show forth his own glory. And he uses his appearance and countenance to become a life unto himself that is separate from me. So be very careful, my son, to avoid that which is not clothed upon in righteousness.
The way we have been conditioned when it comes to clothing is another form of unrighteousness. Ahayah learned quickly that mankind is attracted to exotic things, appearances. We have to be mindful it's the righteousness we are attracted to, not the appearance. Verse 82.
Now in those days Motzor began to speak to the rocks around him concerning the visit of Kavah. And by the time Yatsukad and Kavah had returned home, the controversy of Motsor had spread all throughout Eden, and the rock serpent heard stories of grandeur, how she had the appearance of the famous rock that came down from heaven. And the effect of this division between the rocks of Eden lay very heavily upon Kavah, because in her soul, her vision was to be joined with the rocks of the earth. And because of her, in the beginning, all the rocks of the earth spoke with one voice. And the rock serpent was well apprised of the account of Kavah in her return to view Motsor. And he was much puffed up that she would return to look upon him. And the countenance of the serpent was thus changed toward Kavah, for she glorified herself to be viewed in the same manner as Motsor, in being beautiful and exotic by Kavah, who is the handiwork of the love of God.
Appearance. The rock serpent was feeling herself because she looked like Motsor the decadent. She looked like Semihaza. And Kavah, the object of creation, thought he was beautiful to look at. That meant the serpent, the rock serpent, was beautiful to look at. Yeah, the serpent, she was feeling that. But y'all peep game though. Creation is alive. The news spread all over Eden about the encounter Kavah had with Semihaza. Everybody knew about the division between the rocks of Eden. What division, you might ask? Alright, I got you. Semihaza started talking to other rocks around him, and some of the rocks started feeling his conversation. Let's get that precept. Real talk. We are in the first book of Achi. We're in chapter 1. Let's go to verse 9. This right here is right after Semihaza crashed into Eden. Let's read it.
And I beheld as he felt inferior, and he spoke with a bluffing tone.
Wait a minute. Semihaza felt what?
And I beheld as he felt inferior, and he spoke with a bluffing tone.
Semihaza felt inferior, and he spoke with a bluffing tone. Y'all remember that? Read.
And he said, I am better than all of you. I am a traveler, and I have wandered the far reaches of creation, and my name is Semihaza, which means my name has seen. For I have seen the wonders that lie beyond. But who are you? You always have just lain here upon the hillside. My mother is a comet, and she travels whithersoever she chooses, and has no fixed course like the lowly sun and stars and heavenly bodies. I am beautiful and colored with iridescence, but you are just plain old brown and gray rocks, and your mother is an old broken down mountain.
Semihaza came through the gate boasting of his appearance, but really, he felt inferior. Cap. Verse 10.
And it came to pass that all those that were before him were embarrassed at his haughtiness, and they were ashamed before the presence of the Holy Great One. And at the first they had legs, and at the first had they had legs, they would have fled from before him, as did Eve.
These were the other rocks who were embarrassed by his bragging, right? Read.
But as time passed, some of the younger rocks began to desire to hear of the wonders of his travels, and they were attracted to his talk and desired to be associated with his appearance.
They was attracted to his talk, won over by his conversation, right? Right there. Y'all saw that? But as time passed, some of the younger rocks started wanting to hear his stories. And they was feeling his conversation, and they desired to be associated with his appearance. Y'all see that? So that right there was a division between the rocks. And not all the rocks were swayed by Semihaza, just a few. But this division hurt Kavah because she was especially joined to the rocks. Man, this is real talk. Remember, she went back to their meeting place with specific intentions of reuniting with all of the rocks, right? But now there's a division. Let's go back to the book of Remembrance of Enoch, chapter 6. We are in verse 85. Read that.
Now it had come to pass that when Kavah had returned home, she began to see the serpent with new eyes, and Kavah was quiet around her. And every time she beheld the serpent, Motsor would come to mind, but she spoke very kindly to the serpent in a way quite reserved, and the serpent began to be reserved in her manner also.
They was in the beginning stages of beef, y'all. They were following different masters. They couldn't be cool. That's how it is when we truly give our lives to the Most High. I know that, right? We try to be cool with our friends from the world. I mean, we really try. But we got different masters. We can be peaceful, right? We can be peaceful, but we can't rock out like we used to. How? Read.
And it came to pass that in those days, Yatsakah and Kavah were happy, and they passed through the events in their lives in the richness of Eden, and in the security of their home. And they were also blessed and kept secure with their use of the element of righteousness.
They were blessed and kept secure by their use of the element of righteousness. What was the element of righteousness? The Kelly and the bread Kavah made in it. You dig? Spiritual warfare, family. I'm telling y'all again, y'all go check that episode out if you missed it. It's very important that we know these things. Real, for real, for real. Read.
But Yatsakah no longer trusted the serpent, yet he was polite.
Yatsakah got the scoop from the Spirit. He knew that the serpent was no good, but he kept it player. Read.
And it came to pass that one day as Kavah was making bread, the rock serpent came out as it was her custom to drink. And with her she had brought her young, and she had the little serpent by her side, and it was very small and unsure upon the feet of it. And Kavah exclaimed in the love of her heart, "It is a baby. Where did you get it?" And the serpent said, "It issued forth out of me, for I am the mother of it." And Kavah said, "What shall you do with it?" And the serpent said, "I shall raise it up until it becomes a serpent just like me." And Kavah was filled with the joy of delights that her friend should have a young to raise up, and she clapped her hands for joy.
Look, y'all, Kavah knew things were not the same between her and the rock serpent, but she was genuinely happy for her and her new baby. She wasn't trying to beef with the serpent. Y'all see that? Let's keep reading. Start verse 89 over.
And Kavah was filled with the joy of delights that her friend should have a young to raise up. And she clapped her hands for joy at the sound of her clap. At the sound of her clap, the serpent winced. And she said to Kavah, "Who raised you up?" And Kavah said, "Why do you ask? Do you not know? ENOCH said raised us up, and he is our father, and our protector, and the one who guides us in the way." And the serpent answered her not a word, but turned herself, and went back into the crack in the rocks with her baby.
Oh, wait, man. The rock serpent asked Kavah, "Who raised you up?" It's like the serpent was saying, what's your set, gangster? Huh? And Kavah, ride or die for the Most High, she was like, "Why are you asking me that? You know it's ENOCH said all day. He is our father and our protector." The rock serpent walked off and ain't say a word. That sound like Belly, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't like that. I'm gonna drop a dime on that, Judah. Yeah, you see that? It was beef, family. I'm telling y'all, it was beef. How it ain't gonna be beef? They had two different gods. I don't care how cool they used to be. It's beef. Read.
And it came to pass that as I looked with Enoch, I beheld that Kavah was arising from her sleep, and I noticed that she was becoming heavy with child. And neither Yatsakah nor Kavah seemed to take any notice, nor bring to mind anything about what it meant.
They getting older now. They must have been doing some exploring, huh? Let's keep reading.
And it came to pass that one day she woke up, Yatsakah, by laughing and making exclamations of delight. And when he stirred himself to see what it was all about, she said, "Look and see what I have." And he looked at what she held, and he was startled. And he said, "What is it?" And she said, "It is a baby, and it is one of our kind, and it issued forth out of me, just like the young of the serpent, and like all of the animals of the field. Is it not wonderful?
Bruh. She ain't have no birth pains. Yeah, no labor, family, none. YASHAYA done went to sleep thinking she done put on a few pounds, but I still love her though. Then he wakes up with a whole new human being in the bed. You see that? He like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Read.
And she beheld the child tenderly and with much affection. And the child smiled brightly with the same smile as his mother. And they both laughed.
The baby had Kavai's smile. YASHAYA saw that thing immediately. Start verse 92 over.
And she held the child tenderly with much affection. And the child smiled brightly with the same smile as his mother. And they both laughed and took great delight to hold and look upon the child. And YASHAYA looked upon the child with great wonder. And when the sun was fully up, they arose, and they were excitedly looking at the child in the light of the sun. And ENOCH came up to them, and he said, what is it that you have?
The Most High came asking them like a parent who done gave a gift, but acting like he don't know where it came from. I'll read that again.
And when the sun was fully up, they arose, and they were excitedly looking at the child in the light of the sun. And ENOCH came up to them, and he said, what is it that you have? And Kavai turned to him with her face beaming with delight, and she said, it is a child, and it issued forth out of me. Is it not wonderful? And she held the child out to the Lord. And he, taking the child very tenderly, said, oh yes, it is a most wonderful child. You must cover it from the light of the sun. And he kissed the baby.
Right away, ENOCH is teaching them how to take care of the baby. He told them to not fear. Y'all remember that? Yeah, in our episode, YASHAYA espousal in marriage, right? YASHAYA and Kavai's espousal in marriage. He told them not to fear, that he would always be there with them, right? He said that on their wedding day. He said he would always be close by. He held true to his word again. Read.
And he handed the child back to her. And as they talked, Kavai turned and placed the child in the bosom of her garment to cover it from the light. And then she began to laugh, for the child was nursing.
And ENOCH is right there as they learn each new step. Because Kavai was obedient to ENOCH's instructions by covering the baby from the sun, she then discovered how to feed her baby. Powerful. Read.
And she said, the child chews on me and sucks on me, like we do the KENNEH reed roots. And the Lord said, it is because like the KENNEH reed, you are filled with the sweetness of life. We shall call him KENNEH, and that shall be his name, because he is filled with the sweetness of life in the same manner as his mother. And he is the most delightful thing that has ever happened in Eden.
So amazing, right? KENNEH, who we all came up knowing as Cain, was born in Eden. And ENOCH named him KENNEH, right? Let's keep reading and getting understanding. A lot of doctrines are being put to rest today. Verse 96, read that.
And YASHAYA was standing by to view all of these things, and he said, Father, where did it come from? And the Lord said, you are the father of it, and she is the mother of it, and it came from the two of you together.
Where did the baby come from?
And the Lord said, you are the father of it, and she is the mother of it, and it came from the two of you together.
Baby KENNEH, or Cain, is YASHAYA and Kavai's son, Adam and Eve's son, not Kavai and Satan's son, not YASHAYA and Lilith's son. He is YASHAYA and Kavai's son, which is Adam and Eve, they baby. They were the only two human beings in Eden until they had their son KENNEH, who we know as Cain. Let's keep reading.
And YASHAYA said, what shall we do with it? And the Lord said, you shall raise it up unto me, for it is a gift that I have been given, and in turn I have given it to you. And thus was the sun to set on the first day in the life of the child called KENNEH.
We already showed in past episodes that Cain couldn't be the name a father would name his son because of the meaning. We went into his name in the origins of polygamy episode, and the Two Religions Part 1, the Origins of Sorcery episode. Y'all go check them things out if you missed them. Fire information, for real. Let's keep reading though. We in verse 98.
And it came to pass that Kavah made a part of her righteous garment into a sling for the cradle. And she kept little KENNEH cradled near her bosom, or under her arm at her side everywhere she went. And he was very little. And she kept him from the light of the sun, as the Lord had said.
Obedience. Read.
And it came to pass that some days later, ENOCH came to visit them in the morning darkness, and Kavah fed the Lord bread.
Yep. The Lord ate bread with Kavah in Eden. Y'all see that? Read.
And they sat by the light of the fire, and they all rejoiced together. And they spoke of the child, and all of the rich happiness that was theirs. And the Lord said, I have come this day to hold and bless your child. And ENOCH said, gently lifted up baby KENNEH out of the cradle of his mother, and held him in his arms. And the Lord dearly loved the child, and he said to him, and he held him, using both of his arms across his chest, and he bent his head to hover over the child in his arms. And it was as if the Lord surrounded the baby with his soul. And he loved him like a treasure, and thankfulness poured out of the soul of God for the child. And ENOCH sang a song that the KENNEH reed sings when the wind blows gently upon it.
The KENNEH reed sings a song when the wind gently blows on it. And ENOCH sing the song. I want to know that song too, huh? Creation is alive, family. Y'all see that? We supposed to join with creation. We supposed to be one with our ecosystem. We are missing so much, y'all. Huh? Shabuah. It's a must that we establish ourselves in the foundations of Shabuah. Y'all be paying attention to the things we talking about on here. Deep. Let's read.
And all Eden rejoiced in the singing, and it was very mild and a beautiful song, filled with much tenderness of heart. And the joy of the Lord was full to overflowing. And finally looking up, ENOCH said to YASHAYA and Kavah, it is my desire to sing this song forever. And Kavah learned the song, and it is a song that speaks of the joys of the Lord in this child, the only living soul born in Eden. And he was blessed at his birth. And this day is a day to be long remembered. And it came to pass that one day after these events transpired, Kavah was singing the song of KENNEH, of the KENNEH reed, as she was kneading bread, and little KENNEH was in his cradle on her back. And YASHAYA sat by preparing wood for the fire to cook the bread. And the rock serpent emerged from out of the rock in the rock, so she could get a drink.
Oh snap, y'all. Here goes the enemy in disguise. The rock serpent. Read.
And the child of the serpent was fully grown, and the serpent had not seen, nor did it know about baby KENNEH. And Kavah brought the baby out to show it to the serpent, and to tell of their great delight to have him. And the serpent said, oh, you have a little one. Where did you get it? And Kavah said to the serpent, with the same words that the serpent had said to her, it issued forth out of me, for I am the mother of it. And the serpent said, who will raise it up? And Kavah said, ENOCH told us that we, YASHAYA and I, we are to raise it up unto him. And the serpent said, how do you know? How? Do you know how? And the serpent departed.
How come the serpent ain't wait for an answer? Y'all see that? Serpent gonna ask, do you know how to raise up the baby? And then it just dipped. Serpent just left. How come the serpent ain't wait for an answer? Subtlety. The serpent was being away. Do you know how? Wicked. Okay, let's keep reading. Read.
And they did not know why, but this question brought by the serpent troubled them deeply.
Y'all see that? Opposition. Anyone who comes for no other reason but to steal your peace, at least for that moment, that person, that entity is an agent of Satan. The serpent didn't ask the question to edify. It asked that question to cause confusion. Start verse 109 over.
And they did not know why, but this question brought by the serpent troubled them deeply. And Kavah turned to YASHAYA and said, why am I afraid? I am making bread today.
Whatever this opposition was, the serpent brought was a deeper opposition than usual, because this time the bread seemed not to be working. Read.
And it came to pass upon hearing these words that YASHAYA went out alone to pray. And he said to the Lord, why, Father, are we both brought to fear by the words of the serpent?
I want y'all to peep something. Every time YASHAYA is faced with a situation, the first thing he does is go to the Father for understanding. Y'all see that? When I read that, that's reproval for me. You understand? YASHAYA ain't assuming, guessing, none of that. He's going straight to the Father for understanding. Baby, read that again.
And it came to pass upon hearing these words that YASHAYA went out alone to pray. And he said to the Lord, why, Father, are we both brought to fear by the words of the serpent? And the Lord said, the name of the serpent is called Arum. And she is not now clothed upon in righteousness in the same manner as Motsor the decadent. For she is busily engaged in pursuing the glory held up before her eyes by him. And his visions for her that are rebellious have become very desirable to her. Thus the serpent is the second thing in Eden to be naked. And you are to see that she comes not any more to the place of water in your abode. For Arum brings there the spirit and presence of fear to your place of haven.
More game right there, family. Meaning more understanding. We can't allow wickedness to come to our home, y'all. We have to safeguard the peace in our home. We cannot allow others to bring a contrary spirit into our place of rest. Y'all see that? The Lord took YASHAYA, or he told YASHAYA, to no longer allow Arum, which we learn is the name of that rock serpent, to come to his home. Before we move forward though, let's get our room in the concordance, right? Which go to H6175. That's H6175, our room. Past particle of H6191, cunning, usually in a bad sense, crafty, prudent, subtle. This was the quality of this particular serpent. So the Lord just told YASHAYA not to allow this serpent back in his residence. Let's keep reading.
And when YASHAYA returned home, he rehearsed all that the Lord had told him to Kavah. And she wept at the loss of her friend. And it came to pass that when the serpent next appeared, YASHAYA said, get yourself away from here, Arum, and come not near us again. And he cast stones at the serpent. And he invited Kavah to also throw stones at her. And she obeyed YASHAYA in all things.
And she what?
And she obeyed YASHAYA in all things.
Wait a minute, but that's her friend. They got history. What'd she do?
And she obeyed YASHAYA in all things.
She obeyed YASHAYA in all things. This is the order of a righteous home. Start verse 113 over.
And it came to pass that when the serpent next appeared, YASHAYA said, get yourself away from here, Arum, and come not near us again. And he cast stones at the serpent. And he invited Kavah to also throw stones at her.
Hold on. YASHAYA was a laid back, chill dude. They told us in these scriptures that YASHAYA ain't never get mad. You hear me? So YASHAYA was not even mad at this moment. He was just being obedient to the Most High. The Lord said, do not let our room sip on no water in your residence. Start verse 113 over.
And it came to pass that when the serpent next appeared, YASHAYA said, get yourself away from here, Arum, and come not near us again. And he cast stones at the serpent. And he invited Kavah to also throw stones at her. And she obeyed YASHAYA in all things. But she wept as she cast the stones at Arum.
She was sad. Oh yeah. She was hurt. But she obeyed nonetheless. All Kavah knew was righteousness, right? And righteousness is to obey your husband. Also, she knew her husband was bringing righteousness in the home. She knew her husband, as she did, had a relationship with the Lord. And her husband inquired of the Lord, and he came back and told her everything the Lord had said to be done, said needed to be done, right? Yeah, so she obeyed. Read.
And Kavah said to Yatsakad, how are we able to raise up this child to be acceptable to the Lord, seeing we do not know how? And how can we be as good as the task of raising up this child as the Lord has been to raise us up, seeing he is the source of all life? Oh, woe is me. And she sighed with a heavy sigh.
The serpent, Arun, planted a seed, y'all. Kavah sounds full of doubt. Very unfortunate. That's where we're going to stop for today, family. We are seeing the opposition Yatsakad and Kavah were going through in Eden. A serpent didn't just come up to Kavah and say, the Most High don't want you to be a God like him. That's why he won't let you eat no fruit. Nah, we're reading about the war that was waged on them. A war waged on a pure and innocent man and woman. We see how spiritual Yatsakad was and is, and how loving and kind Kavah was and is. They weren't selfish. They weren't vengeful. They were peaceful, y'all. Huh? They assumed the best about everything. They were forgiving. They both knew something was up with the serpent. Arun, y'all remember, but they treated her with kindness anyway. Until the Lord said, don't let her come back through. And then they chunked stones at her. Get up out of here, right? Yatsakad protected his wife, and Kavah obeyed her husband. These are the things we must imitate. We must copy Yatsakad and Kavah and all these things to accomplish the sanctity of marriage. Huh? Why? Because the adversary is after us, just like he was after Yatsakad and Kavah. And to walk carefully in the sanctity of marriage is how to overcome this war on us. The Father has righteous elements out there meant to give us spiritual protection and power. In these last 2 episodes, we have seen the power of the Kelly and making bread in it. Kavah was also obedient to the Lord. We saw that. Y'all go check Yatsakad and Kavah's spousal and marriage episode. Look at the advice the Lord gave her. Then look at the episodes after that and how obedient she was to that advice. The devil was after Kavah. We ended this reading tonight with Kavah just so unsure of herself. At the same time, she is a new mother. The first mother ever. Y'all see that? Semihaza is using her lack of knowledge and her innocence against her. We are reading about the first war on mankind. And whether you know it or not, you are in the middle of a war against mankind right now. And it's fierce. But the Lord loves you like he loved Yatsakad and Kavah. And he has given us the tools to endure this attack from the enemy. We have to seek the Father like Yatsakad did. Another powerful reading, family. Another powerful reading. I hope y'all grabbing something. I hope y'all getting something, right? As always, I pray this message was for somebody. You dig? All praises to Kahi, which is the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Kadash, which gives us all CHAAKAMAWATH, right? All praises to ENOCH. You say that's all praises to I am loving kindness. Ahayah, he said, and all praises the most of the Lamb. That's our Savior, the one who gives forgiveness, Yasha, right? Remember, family, we gotta love the Most High with all our mind, all our heart, and all our might. And we gotta love our brothers and sisters like the Most High loves them. See them like the Father sees them, and hear them like the Father hears them. Feel for them like the Father feels for them, and treat them and speak of them in a way others will see, feel, and hear them the same way. It's your boy Peezee and beautiful Ari Amunah. Real Judah. Let go.
when you out here doing that work, you get all types of opposition from the enemy, you understand? So, on this thing right here, we're gonna address that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're gonna keep a hood too, you feel me? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And look, the carnal, they might think it's carnal. And the spiritual, they gonna see the spirit in it. We're gonna keep it real, you dig? Real talk, real spit, real Judah. Let go.
Get to the bag, then never let up. Ain't never doing too much, stay in my lane, yeah. We not the same, yeah. We not gon' make it get dangerous. Just watch what you say. Stay in your lane, yeah. Cause we not the same, yeah. Oh, stay in your lane. No, stay in your lane. Ooh, no, we not the same. Oh, stay in your lane.
Alright, man, watch this. Y'all listen to me, hold up, look. Listen. Act right if you don't want smoke. Most of these dudes is a joke. They tryna be the greatest of our time, but I'm tryna murder the goat. Leave my old man dead too. The blood of Christ, it done bled through. Every bar is a paper cut. Battle me, I been done bled you. Wisdom and knowledge are holly. My faith be outweighing your logic. Y'all some effeminate men, Hershey's. Whatchamacallits. B.I.B.I. when you step to me, I get dangerous. Cause them angels is covering me like a blanket. I won't even have to lift up a pancake. I'm starting to learn what my weapons is. I'm trying to strap up with the elements. Trying to do what my creative purpose is. While your highs on spiritual Percocets. Most of you just cannot hear me. You cannot relate, so you fear me. You're thinking I'm dumb as a box of rocks until the day that you come near me. In me, he has entered. They tossed and driven, I am centered. They treat a man like a master. Me, I'm a master repenter. I know Bruce wanna take my spot, but to me that spot is imaginary. I just got the spot that YASHAYA gave me. They jealous, I just
get to the bag, then never let up. Ain't never doing too much, stay in my lane, yeah. We not the same, yeah. We not gon' make it get dangerous. Just watch what you say. Stay in your lane, yeah. Cause we not the same, yeah. Oh, stay in your lane. No, stay in your lane. Ooh, no, we not the same. Oh, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane, I'ma stay in mine. Instead of a friend, become not an eye. Something don't change, even over time. Just handle your business and leave me to mine. Handle your business and leave me to mine. Focus and seeking, I bet you will find. Abiding the branch and rooting the vine. We in the end and the close of the time. Change your bad habits, need fine balance. Then you sit back down there and realize that it's you. Get you to better play chess. Every lane is way less.